Okay, hi, welcome. This is a review about a underquilt. It's the Cumulus Selva 450. Didn't find a lot of information on this quilt online, so I decided to make my own review. So, what do you get when you buy it? You get this. Probably you get this in a big cardboard box, because that's how I got it, but this is probably the way Selva ships this. So, first things first, notice this. Just this here. This little feather. There's just one, okay? Don't have to think about it now, but later on I'll explain. So, what do you get? You get a ridiculous amount of shock cord. You get a compression stuff set. So this is about the size this thing will fit into. Pretty nice. And you get the quilt, of course. When I take this out, I will not say anything. I'll just put it on the floor. The reason I'm not saying anything is because there are some people online who are saying that the material this is made of is pretty, it feels cheap and it's noisy, so you'll be the judge of that, okay? So how noisy was that? Noisy? I don't know. Okay. Let me just change perspectives. Okay, here it is. The Cumulus. As you can see, it runs tapered, a little bit tapered on one side. Yeah. So that's probably where your feet are going to be. Unless, of course, you have huge feet and a really small upper torso, but I guess that's the way. So, the features. I'll show you the features. First, of course, you got your main suspension system, and that's these small clips here. So what you do, you run the supplied shock cord through it, which wasn't really clear to me, so that's why I said it's intimidating amount, because you get a lot of shock cord for the for the tensioning system. And then you have on the side, let me just put the tripod back on the floor, you have this nice nylon webbing. And on this webbing, you have these little cords. And on these cords, you can hang some more shock cord, for example, and make your quilt, hug your hammock even more. So, the quilt also has these draft collars. It's also made with shock cord. And with these draft collars, you can, hug your hammock and make sure no wind gets in. And okay, I'll just put it on the wrong side. Let me just show you the inside of it. So here you have it. So you have the draft collar, which works with the shock cord, and then you have these baffles here. And these are really nice. They stay really firm, upright, and they make sure, that if it's windy, it keeps the warmth in. So yeah, it's a it feels really nice, and it's thick, and I think it will keep the warmth in. Now, about those nice clips on the side, let me just see where I was. Okay, here. So you get this, okay? I guess you guys are probably pretty familiar with it. I wasn't, so I got this amount of shock cord and I was like, what do you do with it? Well, what you actually do with it is you cut off a piece of shock cord. You better cut off more than you think you need, because you got a lot of it anyway. So what you do is you take it, you run it through the bottom hole on the underside, and then you're gonna run it back through the top hole again. So it might be a little hard because that shock cord is fraying a little bit. Oh, there it goes, and it's in. So what you actually can do, you can tension it by pulling on the top side, but when you tension it locks on itself, because it will fall into this groove here, and it locks itself. So that's the way. And then you just hang this on your hammock suspension, and there you go. So, about the material. That's the thing, right? That's the thing people talk about. The material. It seems cheap and noisy, and you know, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but I do have my opinion. And as our great idol Dirty Harry says, opinions are like a-holes. Everybody's got one. You might not take mine too seriously and form your own, okay? So the noise level. Let me just hear it again. Is this noisy? I don't know. I'll just take out my top quilt, which is an Enlightened Equipment revelation. I got it here. And I'll do the same thing, okay? I'd say it's a little less noisy, okay? So on a noise scale, probably a more expensive material will win. But look at the material, this one. I don't know if you can see it. I just put the orange side down, but it's kind of see-through, okay? So you can see the down in there. Now, what I think about the material the underquilt is made of is that the material is a little thicker, so it will give you more protection, you know? While this thing, you know, lies snug in your hammock, it's being protected by your hammock, and you know, there's nothing really, you know, threatening the materials of this thing, except maybe your own body fluids. Well, this thing needs to protect you from the elements, right? I mean, it has to protect you from the wind, maybe some rain, and you know, it has to be more resistant to abuse, okay? So I'd say, I think this material is more wind resistant, for example, than, for example, this material. Another thing is, let's say you're in a camp and you know, you try to get in your tent and it's dark, and you know, you maybe had a few drinks at the campfire, and it's actually what we like. We like to have drinks at campfires because we think alcohol and fire is a great combination. You get back to your tent, maybe a little bit more intoxicated than you would like to be. And after a while you realize, hey man, I'm standing on my bottom quilt, on my underquilt. So, I think this material is less prone to puncture than this material. So, you got the wind resistance, I guess you got the puncture resistance. And another thing I think is important, and that's when I come back to the feather I showed you in the beginning. That feather was already there when I got it, okay? And I have this thing already for a couple of weeks, and I haven't seen one goose feather escape. And that is, I mean, I tried this thing for a couple of times, put it under the hammock, put it in the stuff sack, I put it in the storage bag, you know, no feathers. They all stayed snug inside. You know, I have some sleeping bags, one, for example, from Expat. It was a really expensive one. Every time I take that one out of storage, it's like a fox, you know, just killed a goose in there. It's like you always lose some down feathers. And that's the stuff that's going to keep you warm. So you want to keep it on the inside, right? So yeah, I mean, people can say what they want about the material. And I think the material is really nice. So noisy, yeah, maybe it is. But I mean, you're not gonna play with it all night, are you? It's just hanging under your hammock, and you know, it's there, you know. So let me just change perspectives, and I'll give you my final verdict on the quilt. So here I am again. So the verdict about it. I think it's a pretty good quilt. I played it for a couple of days. Looked at things like stitching, like I said, the feathers. I've looked at things. I put it against the light to look for bolt spots. So if you know, the down would not be evenly spaced in the quilt. And when you just unpack it, there are some bolt spots. You know, you can see more light coming through. But then you start shaking it, you know, and the down falls into place. And I think you always do that. You know, you hang those things and you use your top quilt, you always shake it, because, you know, in a stuff bag, that stuff will, you know, be concentrated in a certain spot. So no bolt spots. The stitching, really nice. I mean, looking at all those details, it's spot on. It's really, really a beautiful quilt. Could be maybe a little bit lighter because of the material, but you know, for me this thing weighs 725 grams, and I'm you know, pretty happy with that. So, are there things I'd like to change about this thing? Probably a few things. One is the manual. Well, actually, there is no manual. So, figuring out how to put that shock cord in there, and you know how much you need. Well, I just cut off a piece and winged it. You know, I did see a video about somebody using a similar system, and you know what? It's glad it's the same system because I didn't have to think a lot about it. Another thing I'd like them to change is they should put some identification between the front and the bottom side, and maybe even on the clip to adjust the draft color. So just imagine, you're hiking all day, you're tired, it's getting dark, it's raining, you're setting up your tarp, and under your tarp you're setting up your hammock, and then you take your stuff sack with a quilt and you open it, and you feel like crap, and then you take it out, and it's like you want to see what side you're having, right? I mean, you don't want to spread that thing out in your hammock and figuring out which side is where, and then just, oh god, listen, it's the red side, so it's the foot side, or whatever. It's just a small thing. And the last thing, maybe, but it's just a matter of opinion, I guess, is the way you set up your draft collar. What they did is they put up the clip in the middle. So, but what happens when you're lying in your hammock and you want to set this, you have to reach all the way around it to set it. And that can be quite cumbersome. I've seen some underquilts where they put this on the top. So they have one here, and they have one here. So what you do, you pull it from this side. I think it makes life a lot easier. So what you could do is put one here and put an identifying marker on it, like this is the top side. I have a Warbonnet Blackbird hammock, and on the stuff sack on one side they put a red tag, and it just indicates your head side. So it's not that difficult, it's not expensive, and I think that way it's really it makes life a lot easier. So. So those were the three things, right? I got the, so overall I like it. I'm gonna do a test sleep in there tonight, and I'm not gonna review that because I think things like insulation, the feeling of insulation is something very personal. I can have one night in a certain place sleeping and feeling really warm and comfortable, and the next night I can feel miserable and cold, but it's most of the time it's dependent on what you've eaten, how much energy you have, so it's personal, you gotta figure it out yourself. Yeah, I guess that's my review. If you have any questions about this, let me know and I'll try to answer them all. Thank you. Bye bye.